Playing over a ballad can be one of the toughest things to do in jazz guitar improvising. So I asked 6 pro jazz guitarists what their #1 tip would be for playing on a ballad to help you guys out. Now this video is related to the one I released last week of these same 6 guitarists playing a ballad, their favorite ballad. So if you haven't seen that, you can check that out after you watch this video in the link in the description. And also in the description is all of the links that you can click to support these amazing artists. So I encourage you to do so. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment below what you guys think of the advice that these guys are giving and some words of encouragement and support for these artists for doing this for you guys. So that's it.
I recorded the Nearness of You, and this is actually kind of a newer tune for me. I recorded this in late 2023, and it's one of those tunes that I've heard over the years, but I just hadn't really sat down and learned it until fairly recently. So shame on me, I guess, neglecting this beautiful tune all these years. But it is more recent for me, more top of mind, so maybe I can walk you through my process a little better too. So the first thing I did when I went to learn the tune is I checked out the lead sheet, but then right away went to recordings and listened to a bunch of different recordings, including, crucially, recordings from vocalists so that I could learn the lyric and learn the relationship between the lyric and the melody, and that will really inform how I might interpret the melody. In some cases, it might even inform my harmonic choices, or it might help me remember the tune better. Once in a while, like composers will use certain chords to line up with certain lyrics, and that sort of thing. So I can't emphasize enough the idea of looking at the lyric and really learning the lyric and the melody as good as you can. Then I settled on the key of B for this arrangement. So it's in the real book in the key of F, and I decided I wanted to scoot it on down somewhere down here where it'd be a little warmer and fuller sounding, and I settled on the key of B, I think, because it is a bit unusual, not one you see every day in the real book, for example, and also because I have the open B string that I can use to my advantage in this key, so when I play the melody up high, I kind of harmonize it with these chords that sound really pretty with the open string there. Then my next goal was to make each A section a little bit different, to give the listener something to look forward to in each A section. I didn't want to just play the same thing 3 times in this tune, which is in AABA form, basically. So I'll just get out of the way that I didn't do anything fancy on the bridge. I just tried to play it really straightforward. It's really on the 3 A sections that I tried to have some variety. So the first A section, I play the melody down low. The next time I play it up high, harmonized with these kind of pretty intervals and pretty chords. And then the third time, after the bridge, I play it down here again, but I added some dissonance to the chords to try to give it a little extra spice. So I played something like... And what that is it's a major 7 chord, but with the sharp 5. And the natural 5 up top as a melody note. I find myself reaching for this chord on ballads sometimes when I want a 1 chord that has a little extra something to it. And the next chord, F sharp minor, I add the G natural, which is, again, a kind of a dissonance. And then instead of going to B7, I use the F major 7 with a bunch of open strings. And that takes me to my E chord, the 4 chord in the song. So I do that, and there's one spot where I add a tiny little bit of reharm. I go up the scale with the melody here. No reharm yet. It's here where I need to get down to this E flat, and I harmonize those 2 bass notes with dominant chords with a little dissonance, and then instead of this E flat, I play it up here to get that melody note up high. So it sounds something like this. So that's the only spot where I add any kind of reharmonization, or those 2 spots, I guess. I didn't really reharmonize the tune. I wasn't really trying to reharmonize or reimagine the tune in any way. I kind of just wanted to stay true to the lyric and to the melody and just try to play it beautifully, try to have the melody sit atop the chords so you could really hear it very clearly. And Yeah, it's a really beautiful ballad, and I wanted the arrangement to reflect that and to bring out and enhance the beauty of the melody if possible. So hopefully I achieved some of that, and hopefully you will enjoy my arrangement of The Nearness of You.
Hey there, everyone. Brandon Coleman here in bright and sunny Cincinnati, Ohio. I want to talk to you about playing ballads. I love playing ballads because I feel like they're an opportunity to connect with your audience in a really deep way. I think when I was younger, the idea of playing fast and crazy changes and things like that were really appealing because it felt like proving ground for ability or just to flex some musical muscle in a way to kind of exercise my mind to stimulate creativity. But the older I've gotten and the deeper music has sunk its claws into my soul, ballads really hold a really special place in my heart because they're so open-ended. Most often they're written with lyrics in mind, unless we're talking like a modern jazz ballad written by somebody like Wayne Shorter, something like Infinize, The ballad I'm playing today is You've Changed, which was written with lyrics in mind. And when you have this emotive perspective from a lyrical place, that offers us a place as instrumentalists to kind of be imaginative with the way we're phrasing, to mimic the human voice in a deep way. And when I'm playing ballads, I try to really toy with the idea of being lyrical as well as being interactive with the accompaniment in a large way, but also being very expressive with my interpretation of the time, not being so locked down to a grid of eighth notes and triplets per se, but really opening up that web of subdivision to include a rolling kind of quasi-played rubato feel within that realm, and it really opens up a lot. So hopefully in this performance you'll hear that. I'm playing it with myself. I recorded a piano track on this good old clavinova here in my teaching office, and hope you dig it.
So I chose to play Body and Soul, which is one of my favorite ballads to play, just because it's a tune that I've been spending a lot of time with over the years, looking for new approaches. And one thing that I like to do with ballads, one thing that I feel like kind of improved my ballad playing was when I thought about kind of stretching outside of the harmony of the tune. Body and Soul is a tune that already moves around quite a bit harmonically, but the melody is so clear and singable that there are a lot of moments where you can kind of reframe the melodic notes with different harmony, whether it's stuff that's inside the key or stuff that's really far outside of the key. So one example is something that I borrowed from John Coltrane's recording of this tune, where after the F minor 7, usually in the real book and in most like vocal versions of this tune, the melody will go. But John Coltrane changes that E diminished to E minor 7, so you have F minor 7 and then E minor 7, which I think is a really pretty twist to the changes, and it also creates this sort of chromatic root motion where you have F minor 7, E minor 7, and then E flat minor 7, which begins the next phrase. So another thing that I like to do that kind of stretches the harmony of the tune is coming out of the A section, out of the first A section, you can do this sort of cycle 4 root motion. So you have the last phrase of the A section. So that's resolving to D flat major, and then you go up a fourth to G flat major, B major, and then E major, and that E major is sort of like a sub 5 of 2, so it goes down a half step then into E flat minor 7. And also I kind of like to do a lot of things like taking fragments of the melody and playing them in different keys, like maybe up a half step, just as sort of a little surprise for the listener. And I also like to do things with sort of stretching the limits of the harmony. For example, there's a moment in my sort of loose arrangement of the tune where instead of just playing E minor 7 with D flat on top, I play E minor 7 flat 5, and then I add in this harmonic, which is the major 7th. So you have like E flat minor 7 flat 5 with a natural 7th, which doesn't really exist in any sort of like harmonic system that I'm aware of, but it kind of brings out a lot of emotion in the tune, I think. So just some things to think about. Again, those are some things that help my ballad playing, specifically in terms of like solo guitar ballad playing.
Hey everyone, this is New York City jazz guitarist Peter Mazza. I wanted to sit down and talk to you about what you heard or will hear with My One and Only Love. That's the ballad that I selected to offer for this mashup mix of great players who Chase has assembled for his latest video. And I wouldn't be surprised if I was not the only one who picked that tune. And that would probably be really cool to hear the way some different outstanding players address that beautiful ballad. I will say that now when I learn ballads and when I teach ballads, I often have people learn the words and the melody and the chords separately so they can really be deeply grounded in the tune. Although I will tell on myself that the way this chord melody happened was probably a scenario you're all really familiar with yourselves, which is, you open up a real book and you just try to play the song down, like sight reading the melody and adding chords to it. So I would say that that's a less organic approach than the one I first described. So something I'll do, this arrangement has a history that just kind of came out of opening up a real book and, having heard the song and just trying to see what I could do guitaristically to put the melody and the chords together in my arrangement. And I'll touch on that in a moment. There's a lot of inner moving voices. The bass line is traveling one way. The melody is, of course, on the top, and there may be inner voices and multiple chords per note and all kinds of, adventurous stuff. On a good day, I would say that I'm trying to sound like a little mini orchestra on guitar. I'm a huge fan of, the great arrangers who wrote behind singers and big band writers. So in my own humble way, I'm trying to produce that level of activity and conversation on the sixth string here. But yeah, just to take a big step back, I wanted to, actually sing something to you. So, ba da 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 dee da be da be ba ya be da ya da we da da ba we da. So being able to do that, trust me, I won't be making a vocal album anytime soon, but be able to sit down and sing the melody and comp the chords convincingly, to find changes that are probably some blend of things you've heard on a lot of recordings in common, but then you might be adding a few of your own little twists that, suit you. That's a great place to start. Yeah, and just to, you can go back and watch that. I mean, if you really play that tune quite often, you might be curious and say, oh, wow, that was neat. Like, what was that? So I invite you to go check that out. And certainly to reach out to me, too, because I do a lot of teaching in my groups and privately, and I talk about, different tunes and the changes that I use and how they stem from, the recordings that I studied or other arrangements, etc. So anyway, but just to get into my arrangement, just to talk to you a little bit about that, right? So interesting, I do a whole intro in E major, and I will say that, this is really going out there, right? But, if you have the C augmented scale, in that crazy scale is C major 7, or C major 7 sharp 5, E major 7, and E major 7 sharp 5, and A flat major 7, and A flat major 7 sharp 5. So there is, in one scale, if you can imagine, there's a relationship between C major 7, E major 7, and A flat major 7. And those of you who know giant steps, this should be putting a light bulb, above your head. So, the tune is in C, right? And then I go E major, C, B7, E7, A minor, this A flat 7, big G, to a D flat 7, or C sharp 7, the 5 of F sharp minor. Do this big diminished lick. So I'll take that just one more time slowly. So E major, sharp the 5, C major, lower the 4, the sharp 4 to the 3, B7, this is an F to a D, and then E7, but with a D sharp in it. How could you put a D sharp in an E7? I'll explain that later. Then to A minor 11 with a major 7. Major 7 moves down, and then to this G sharp altered or A flat altered, where this F sharp moves to F natural, then to this big Jim Hall chord. And then I arpeggiate this F sharp minor 7 flat 5. And this is a wild chord. Well, this is just meant to be a taste. Anyway, there's a lot going on there that I'm trying to get to. And if you enjoy it and you want to know more, I hope you're going to reach out to me individually and ask me. But in the meanwhile, I want to thank Chase, and I want to thank the amazing colleagues who are involved in this video. I'm going to enjoy watching every single one of the videos carefully and trying to learn something. So enjoy, everybody. Thanks so much. Hope you'll reach out.
Hello everyone, Guitarist Hristo Vitchev here, and I'm super excited and honored to be invited to be part of this amazing community of great jazz guitarists. And thank you, Chase, for putting this together and really providing a place where we can all gather, share ideas, and be inspired. So thank you for doing this. I've decided to do one of my favorite ballads for this occasion, The Nearness of You, which is a great tune by Hoagy Carmichael. And some of the concepts that I try to practice in my ballad playing and overall harmonic playing is basically trying to capture more of a piano-like feel where you can have a separate melody and kind of a chord that's answering and kind of going back and forth as a conversation between the two hands of what a piano player would do. And so one exercise I've practiced over the years is to play voicings, try to find your voicings where you play the highest note first, and as your finger sustains that note, to kind of voice the chord, almost like arpeggiating it and layering it one note at a time around it, which creates that kind of piano-like effect, to me at least. So if I take an F major chord, for example, being able to find voicings everywhere on the fretboard that are guided by your melody, and so your melody would sustain and you voice the chord behind it. So maybe... So basically kind of building that entire idea of melody, chord, that kind of idea, right? And so that's something that I've done extensively over different quality of chords, different that kind of progressions, and trying to implement that in your my ballad playing, so that you create kind of a more lyrical and I think intimate moment of that. So that's something that I like to do. Another technique that I really adore using, especially in solo settings, is when you take a single melody note and you try to harmonize it and contrast it with as many possible hues, harmonic shadings in the background. So for example, if I take the note F as that is sustaining, trying to find all the different voicings, whether they're functional or non-functional, they do create some kind of a effect, some kind of a feeling contrasting against the melody note that can work. Obviously, technically speaking here, your hand has to be moving in intricate ways so that that note never stops ringing. different types of chords, but if I come to that in a passage, maybe it was a 2-5-1. So I can create those kind of effects, which is really kind of going away in all kinds of different ways without, leaving the melody behind. Another technique that has helped me visualize broader melodic possibilities and harmonic contrast with the melody has been trying to create counterlines, counterpunctual types textures, just to kind of go away from the melody into the harmony with these melodic units that can lead me from one density level to the next. So if I'm playing a single note, maybe layering two different voices before I actually expand to a triad or a 4-note chord or something of that nature. And so I would just take a chord, let's say G minor, and try to explore each position. Maybe I have a voicing for the chord, and try to explore what are some of the movements. If I, for example, play this voicing, what are some of the movements that can happen as my finger is sustaining the melody? And then land on a different note and try to see what are some of the possibilities. Things like that, just kind of trying to move around the fretboard and see, if one of the fingers sits down and here I'm within this particular voicing box or this particular shape, what else can I visualize melodically in some of the lower voices or different registers of that position? And lastly, I'm definitely fascinated with chord substitutionary harmonization. And for some of you who have checked some of my work in the past, you know that I do write extensively in that department. But when I do an arrangement, I'm always intrigued by what are some of the possibilities to take it into a different sonic palette, different chordal palette. And so, you can do basic things from tritone subs to minor third substitutions to some more advanced and non-functional or I would say more unorthodox ways of reharmonizing. But it is all with the intent of creating a particular emotion that you're seeking, right? So some of the things that I use in this particular arrangement, flat 5 descent, where, on a 2-5-1 progression, instead of resolving to the tonic. So let's say I have G minor, C7, instead of going to the F major, I'll go to the flat 5, which will be B, and then making that a half diminish, and then descending this chromatic passage. And then you finally get here to year 5 and year 1. And so that's something that I've introduced here. And finally, one of the things that I like doing when I'm approaching a new song, or maybe approaching a note song in a new way, is try to pick a harmonic device which I'm going to try to use as an exploratory tool to find out different ways I can reimagine that tune or that particular set of harmonic movements. And so for this particular project, I decided to do the Nearness of You, which I've played in many different configurations and arrangements in the past, but try to come up with an arrangement that mainly uses major chords in first inversion. That's a very particular sound to me. It's a very ethereal, almost like floaty, melancholic sound of the major chord. That sound, so like a major triad in first inversion sounds pretty dark and pretty almost, in a way, mysterious to me. And so the entire arrangement kind of as a project for me was a very fun way to explore a tune that I already knew, but try to see how many different ways I can visualize cadences and interesting harmonic movements that rely mainly on that particular unit. And that's something I do in my own studies to force myself out of my comfort zone, is to pick something in advance and then try to make the song work with that particular motif, that particular vocabulary, whether it's melodic or harmonic. And then, so please enjoy the arrangement. Hopefully you like it. And one more time, it's such an honor and pleasure to be part of this great community that Chase has created. So thank you so much for watching, and see you soon.
Hey everybody, this is John Storie here. Thanks for checking out my version of Ask Me Now for this edition of Jazz Memes collab video, Ballad Edition. The video is actually part of a larger chord melody series that I'm working on right now with Jazz Memes, so be sure to be on the lookout for that with Chase and everybody. And yeah, Ask Me Now, I think it was one of the first Monk tunes I ever learned, next to Straight No Chaser. And I just love the way that Monk constructs the melody on this song. It starts with some of that chromaticism, and it sort of creates this tension. And then at the end of each A section, it just has this beautiful statement and resolution into the key of D flat. The bridge is really nice and kind of spacey and pensive, and sort of asks another question, and then it goes back to the last A. I don't know. It's always, to me, it's been one of my favorite Monk ballads, maybe next to Panonica. And my goal with this, when I recorded this, was to really establish the time at a certain point right when the melody came in, so that there was this feeling that the ballad was moving forward. I feel like that's one of the big challenges as a guitar player when you play solo guitar, is sometimes it sounds like the arrangement just kind of stays static. And as guitarists, it's so easy to look at the neck and to focus on what we're playing and lose sense of the time and lose sense of time, of how long we're playing for. So really sticking to a really great tempo that keeps the melody moving forward. I think that that's how people played ballads in the 30s and 40s and into the 50s when you listen to, the early recordings of how people might play something like this. I kind of try to imagine, even though this isn't a dance tune, it's a Monk tune, I kind of imagine dancing to it a little bit also. So that was kind of my choice with the time feel. Some other technique stuff I used. I started off with a little rubato and then got into the tune, of course. And at the end I did some harp harmonic technique. And so if you're not familiar with that, check out Lenny Breau and Ted Green. Those are two guitar players that incorporated this way of playing the harmonics, where you play a harmonic, skip a couple strings, and play an open string, so it creates sort of a pentatonic scale. If you're curious about it, you can check out the harp harmonic technique. There's a lot of clips online, and there's some beautiful versions of songs like the one that Send in the Clowns or Autumn Leaves that Ted Green had done. There's some interesting footage of Ted. I got to study with Ted a little bit here in LA when I moved here. Really great guy, great teacher, and just an amazing technician on the guitar for sure. So I always think about that technique, extended techniques, when I play ballads, but using that sparingly. I don't like doing a ton of it because I think it can detract from the melody and the overall arrangement of the song. So that was my approach to Ask Me Now. Thanks for including me on this collaboration video, Chase. You guys are great. Can't wait to check out everybody else's videos. See ya.
Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Again, check out the links in the description. You can get more from me at Chase's Guitar Academy, and also from all of these amazing artists with their links provided below. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video.